You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Season 13, Episode 3, titled Phenomenon. My name is Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one sensuous cynophilist. From the podcast pod is my co-pilot. Please say...
I'm like, no, bitch, that's not gonna work. You can't have too many cooks in the kitchen. You can't have too many choreographers on the dance floor.
To Taylor... the Latte Boy. Hello, Taylor the Latte Boy.
Hello, Joseph. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Taylor just got 2 new dogs. Well, not new. Yeah. Got 2 dogs. And we talked about that. And what else did we talk about? AbFab. We talked about a murder mystery.
Yes.
So much. Yeah, a murder mystery. AbFab game movie.
A friend?
What'd you say?
Involving a friend?
Yeah, involving a friend. We talked about First Wives Club. We talked all about that on Just Between Us Girls, which is available over at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. And you can go there. There's so much content there. You have Drag Race UK, which we'll talk about in a second, without commercials and with bonus content. You got this show with Just Between Us Girls and no commercials. You got the Rumor Mill. You got Shady Pines if you're in the exclusive feed. You have Throwing Down and the Tea. So much content for so little, Taylor. So go over to patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. But for now, I actually want Taylor, just very briefly, and mostly really in service to plug our other show, which is Drag Race UK, which... by the time you're hearing this, we've already had our first episode drop. But I want to get your quickest take, Taylor, on the first episode of Drag Race UK.
First race to Drag Race UK, I know people loved it. I was a little underwhelmed. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of... Nobody with the exception of Lawrence kind of stood out to me as somebody that I really kind of wanted to see more of. Mm-hmm. And they all kind of looked alike to me. It wasn't like I had a hard time figuring out who everybody was. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I enjoyed the last season of Drag Race UK, and I kind of feel like I felt similar last year with it. It's just weird watching two different series of the same show back to back Thursday night and Friday night. Mm-hmm. Like that's the part that there's going to be times that I'm going to be looking for certain queens on certain shows, and I don't quite get why they're doing it this way, but no one asked me. But I'm enjoying it. I liked last night's episode of the flagship show more than the first episode of Drag Race UK. What about you?
Worst podcast plug ever. Let me tell you this. It's fine. I don't know. I might really like it. I don't want to keep watching. Let me tell you this.
I never said I wasn't going to keep watching. I'm obviously, I watch all of them. I love all of them.
Yeah.
And I listen to all of our shows, all of the Afterthought Media shows about it. You asked me what I thought of Drag Race UK.
You're right. I'm going to say a few things about the episode. And hopefully Ben and Fraser, because I was texting with them yesterday as I was watching Drag Race UK, I actually like this cast of girls. I see what you're saying, Taylor, but I like this cast of girls. I think on the whole better than this cast of season 13. Like, in other words, I like that they're kooky. I think they're pretty witty. You know?
Uh-huh.
And I think there's like that Scottish one. You know? Well, I know there's Lawrence. 2 Scottish ones. Lawrence, yeah. I think he's fantastic. I like this Jiminy Liminy or whatever her name is. I don't know what her name is, right? I like her. I like all the kooky ones, right? Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, I'm going to take a couple of things. They did this mini challenge with the Brit crew. And they brought out this Prince Harry meets Nick Jonas Brit crew guy. He was so fucking hot. I could not take my eyes off him. I don't even know what happened in those pictures. I couldn't stop staring at him. I thought he might be up there. There have been some hot ones. He might be up there with one of the hottest pit crew boys ever. Like,
really?
Like, he is my type to a T. Like, so fucking hot. Like, I really couldn't stop staring at him. Like, I'm gonna go masturbate right now. I'll be right back. Then, here's the funny thing too, because they would be like, "Oh, I'm from Shropshire," like all these different places, right? And then they did the runway where they did where they were from, an iconic place from where they're from. And there are two people from Nottingham, and they came out in this Robin Hood attire. And I wrote to Ben and Fraser about this, who are the hosts of our Drag Race UK show, and I said, I legit never knew Nottingham was a real place, right? I'm embarrassed to say that I thought it was like Hogwarts, right? And that it was like a fictitious place. Right. And two, that I saw them say it as they entered, and I registered that they're from this place called Nottingham. I did not even connect Robin Hood until they walked down the runway and they were making their dumb puns about Friar Tuck and stuff like that. And I was like, oh.
You didn't get that was they were doing, what did you think they were doing, Peter Pan?
No. I didn't even register until they started making the jokes. I was like, oh my God, Robin Hood of the sheriff of Nottingham. Oh my God. And I was gobsmacked. I literally texted the Drag Race UK boys, Ben and Fraser, and I think I thought Nottingham was like a magical college, because Ben answered me as if like, oh no, like he answered. I don't think he got that I meant. I just thought it was fictitious. I don't know. It was really. We'll find out. But I will say, watching the episode, I'm kind of excited to hear the Drag Race UK, because they say shit. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. How did Daniel and I last year do this show? Because I don't know what the fuck they're talking about this show. They're like, oh, it's like me. I'm Amanda Buttonton. And I'm like, who? Right? Who are you? Who's this person? So that's why we have Ben and Fraser on Drag Race UK to translate it for us all.
Yes.
So make sure and check out that show.
Decipher the codes for all of us Yanks.
Decipher the code. Besides that, Taylor, is there anything you want everyone out there in podcast land to know before we get into this?
No. No, let's get to the episode.
All right, this week, the Pork Chop Queens return for the second chance. For the mini challenge, the girls show off 2 looks. The theme, Lady and the Vamp. In the maxi challenge, the queens record and perform original verses and choreography to RuPaul's song Phenomena. On the runway, the category is We're Here, We're Sheer, Get Used to It. After RuPaul announces that nobody will be eliminated this week, Denali and Rosé go head-to-head in a lip-sync battle for the win. In the end, Denali puts Rosé on ice and takes home a cash tip of 5,000 doulas as the girls get ready to merge with the winner's team. Taylor Latte Boy, name 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
I liked this episode. I like this episode just in general. It was fun. I've always been somebody who's enjoyed more when you focus on the B group versus the A group. And I know that right now they're kind of considered to be the B group because they all lost the first lip sync. So I think that the community that the 6 of them created was actually pretty cool. I always enjoy the looks. I mean, we talked about this last week. It kind of is, because it is sort of a cookie cutter of the 2, So I would say that I definitely like that. I liked all the looks. I thought the performance for this one was better than last week's. I thought on general that it was a better group performance. So those are the 2 things I liked. The one thing I did not like was the editors this week were trying so hard with the manipulation. It's so hard, particularly with you talk about Kamora with the being late and making it look like they were going to do the show without her. And then just the whole thing is just, and I mean, they made it look ridiculous, where you thought that it was going to be where, like, are they going to do this where she doesn't get to go? But they were showing promos of her walking down the runway for the last couple of weeks, so you knew at some point she was going to walk down the runway with the T.
I'll talk more about this when we get to this segment, but I have a lot of stuff to say about this. I mean, I appreciate what they're trying to do, but yeah. Okay, first thing that I liked is I'm going to split one of them in that basically two personalities. I was surprised by, because, I wasn't a fan from Meet the Queens of this Joey J. And I don't know how far she's going to go. Cut to, I really know exactly how far she's going to go, but I'm saying that here. But I don't know how far she's going to go, but I really like her personality. I just think she has great confessionals. And it's a positive personality, but unlike Jan, I feel Jan had a similar thing going on, but unlike Jan, she's not treacly. She's not overly sweet where it seems contrived. It feels genuine. It feels like this is who Joey J is, and it feels authentic. Where with Jan, it felt like this is something I'm doing because I want to have the Jantasy,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I want her Jan from this show. I'm supposed to be banned. Anyway, do you think she goes my head, I hit my head, I need a cat Jan. Do you think she does dumb things, anything that rhymes with that?
Yeah. I'm going to make dinner tonight. Can you hand me those pots and Jans?
Yeah. Do you think she just, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, the other thing that I was splitting it, Tamisha Iman, what great quips she has throughout the entire episode.
Yes. I enjoy the fact that I was as wrong about her as I am. I think that, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Yeah.
That's all I had to say.
All right. Okay.
And the other thing I liked was this Nicole Byer. She was a great
Nicole Byer is so hit or miss for me. I love her, and then there are times where I'm like, stop shouting at me.
Yes.
When she does the screaming thing, that's where I get over it.
Well, it's funny that you say that. The reason I point out that I liked her here, I'm one of these people who I love to cook, I love to bake, and all that stuff like that. So the idea of Nailed It is very appealing to me. And I've seen the first season or two, maybe even the first two seasons, and just thought it was so hilarious of what they came up with. The part I didn't like about Nailed It, now maybe she's grown into the role, but I know you guys are all making fat jokes in your head, and that's rude. But
we know that because I watched you make a fat joke in your head and then stop yourself.
But I find her grating on Nailed It to the point where I can't watch the show anymore. I really find her unwatchable on Nailed It. However,
and it seems like she got worse and worse as the seasons went on to where we stopped watching it because I couldn't deal with her. Yeah, I couldn't deal with the yelling.
Okay.
So, okay.
But on this show, which is so funny because she said they didn't put a lot of, because everyone, they edit this, so I'm sure she had some great quips when they were walking on the runway. They didn't put them in, but her critique lines were very funny.
Yes.
So I like her overall as a judge, because I like any judge that knows that they're not just because their publicist had them go on the show, that they genuinely like the show. They're always going to be a great judge. The one thing I didn't like, and we'll talk about this very soon, and you kind of pointed to this, in that the other team is like, they're the B squad, whatever, right? And I'm like, bitches, you don't know they did better than you in this episode.
Yeah.
They outperformed you.
Yeah.
So there you go. Those are the two things I liked. And one thing I didn't. In the workroom, first after the previous episode, the winners team enters to de-drag. Congratulations, Simone, for your win. Meanwhile, Elliot with 2 T's would eliminate all the other queens if given the chance, and the pork chop queens are christened the B squad by a team that includes Candy Muse. The pork chop queens enter for the first time. Yeah, how is any team with Candy Muse on it? Okay? How is any team with Candy Muse
the hill you're going to die on? I love this. Okay, go ahead.
calling somebody else the B squad? How were they?
Right.
It's almost like if I were on the winner's circle, I'm going to call it. I don't know if the 25th Amendment applies there, but I would have used the 25th Amendment to eject this Candy Muse from the team. Did you see on this Twitter? On this Twitter, she goes, Did you see this? She goes, I could pull it up on Discord or whatnot. Maybe, can somebody copy the tweet she put about, comparing her to Silky Nutmeg Ganache? Can someone put that in the Discord right now for me? So I don't have to go searching for it. But she goes on this Twitter, right? And she's like, oh, it's so, I'm going to read it right now. So I'm waiting for the picture to come up, but something along the lines, until I read it, paraphrasing, that essentially it must be because they're POCs and fat that they are comparing her to Silky Nutmeg Ganache. And everyone's like, no, it's because you're an annoying bitch, just like her, right? And I'm not holding back, because did you see this? I know this isn't the rumor mill, but I'm going to talk about this right now. This Silky Nutmeg Ganache, she went to Puerto Vallarta. Okay.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. And then she did a live. She did an Instagram live, Facebook live, whoever, something live, right? And she goes,
I'm not dealing with you. And all I got to say to this is, I did what I did with no regrets. And if you want to be mad at anybody, your president of the United States has done nothing for the coronavirus. If you ain't holding him accountable, don't come at me.
And I'm all like, no, you have to be personally responsible. You can't blame. That is such a fucking deflection that because you're a stupid bitch and went to Puerto Vallarta and didn't wear a mask, that is Trump's fault. I don't even understand the logic of that, right? So I have the quote here. This is what Candy said, quote, "Y'all realize y'all call me the new Silky because we're both brown and big girls, right? The microaggression. Literally 2 episodes in and I have yet to even argue with anyone." Somebody pointed out, and I know exactly who it is, Spiral Queen. And I told her I'm going to steal this line, right? Mm-hmm. Said, I don't see anyone comparing you to Latrice.
Yeah.
No.
That was going through my head as far as there are big girls that have been on the show, big girls of color that people love, and Latrice is the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah. Stupid Candy Muse with her. No, because you're both fucking loud and annoying and stick your nose in business that you shouldn't. Candy Muse, I can't with her. Anyway, the Pork Chop Queen. Oh, by the way, do me a favor while I read this, or at some point in the show. I don't want to go here because I don't like to read our iTunes reviews because they're always mad at me because I don't like Silky Nutmeg Ganache or Candy Muse. I just need the number of reviews. I want the number of reviews. I'm going to do something. I just want the number of iTunes reviews that we have. Just a number. Not the rating, just the number of reviews. Okay. All right. Anyway, the Pork Chop Queens enter for the first time as a group and are ready for their redemption. They marvel as they see each other for the first time out of drag. Next, RuPaul enters the workroom to announce this week's mini challenge, a 2-look runway called Lady and the Vamp. Now, we're not at the mini challenge yet, Taylor. We're just in the... oh, look, we're just talking and just everything that happened here. I know I just did my own rant here, but did you have anything to say about either the A squad and coming in and saying this horrible shit, or anything I just talked about, or the B squad, the Pork Chop crew, do you have anything to say about them coming in and what they were talking about? Anything here, Taylor?
I thought that the fact that they said, their trade of the season.
Oh yeah,
I would agree with that. I think this is a much cuter group than the other group, for the most part. And it feels like the bond is already there between them more so than the other bond, between the other groups, and you could tell that almost immediately. Like they've all had a joined, a mutual trauma at the same time of being, the first ones that go to the Pork Chop Lounge. So it was nice to see them kind of all walk in already all friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, a couple of corrections, here in Nami's correction corner, if you should know, we have a listener named Nami Harder and he likes to correct us. And in Nami correction corner, actually, this was not Nami Harder. This was Eve Adams who told me this. But I guess they did. Candy and Gottmik did a live. Because last week, I laughed because Gottmik was like, "How do they know I am? Like, what? I don't know what to do. I haven't told anybody." There was an explanation. Right. So I guess the girls were told in advance to write these lyrics and record them. And so they actually did it before they walked in the workroom, I think, supposedly. And so Gottmik had already written the lyrics and recorded. And so when they were doing it, it was like, oh shit, I didn't know that, I'd done this already, but I didn't know this is happening now, So they had done it before they worked, they had done it in pre-production.
But then why did they have them writing their lyrics?
Because
I don't know what to write. This is so confusing. I know. They're just not good at writing lyrics. Okay.
There's so constantly so much faking on this show. I know. Well, look, we'll wait to the Kamora part. There's a part that I'll prove to you is faking. I'll prove it to you on the Kamora part. Mm. But it didn't even take I know production because I'm from Hollywood. Nothing like that. It's just from watching the fucking show, they're making shit up. Anyway, Elliot's the one with this B Squad. Bitch, you were in the B Squad. In fact, not only were you in the B Squad, they thought you were weak enough to get your C Squad. And she's like, yeah, where's the B Squad? She goes, and RuPaul put me here. No, they didn't. They put you in the C Squad. They put you at Get Out. And then RuPaul just shuffled you over there. And it was one like RuPaul's like, she's special. Elliot with 2 T's. Okay. Taylor, do you have the number of reviews that we have yet?
We currently have, I have ratings. I don't know that I have.
Ratings, number of ratings. Sorry.
Ratings, we have 370 ratings.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, as you should, everybody was gagged to find out that a former Drag Race contestant, season 4 icon, Dita Ritz, listens to our show. She's actually quoted us before, so I knew she listened to the show, but she quoted us again about the information that was removed from the show. But she doesn't say who the queen is. And if you want, you have to go to Dita Ritz's social media to find out what she said, but she mentioned what we said in that excised information. But here's what I'm saying, Taylor. I like to do this once a year, so this is a good little game here. If you're listening on the public feed right now, or no, even if you're listening on Patreon, I don't give a shit, right? Anyway, you should do this anyway. I want to get to 500 reviews, preferably 5 stars. I don't know why I said that's a secret. I want to get to 500 ratings, okay? If the moment we hit 500 ratings, I will publish that excised scene on the public feed. But we have to get to 500 ratings, so it could be tomorrow. I don't know. It makes or it could be in 10 weeks or never. But when we hit 500 ratings, the reward is I will publish that missing information about what happened, and that Dita Ritz even was like, oh my gosh, What do you think of that, Taylor?
I think that's awesome. I think that is a great carrot to dangle in front of the listeners who have not yet left a review for the show, and I'm wondering if I have left a review for the show, so I might be the first one while we're taping.
I don't think I have. But by the way, I will leave it's an iTunes rating. Or Apple Podcast rating. I will leave the link in the show notes. So if you don't, I don't know where to go. It seems hard. I'll go to the show notes, hit that link, boom, it'll take you to give it a 5-star rating and bump us up to 500. Alrighty? Perfect. And then I will, the second we hit 500, Taylor, the second I see it, I will publish it right there on the public feed. All right, here we go. For the mini challenge, the queen scrambled to prepare for the runway mini challenge. Nolly points out that Kamora is notorious for taking a very long time to get into drag. As the hosts sit ready to start filming and the queens wait in the wings, Kamora is nowhere to be found. A disembodied voice calls over the loudspeaker for Kamora to make it to set, or they'll start without her. Then they start and there are no problems. Okay. Then we have the looks, and we'll go over the looks in a second. But before we do, let's talk about that moment, Taylor. Let's talk about that moment when they're like, oh my God, is Kamora going to make it? Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that she was probably a few minutes behind, but they did a really good job of editing old stock footage of the empty workroom with pictures of her feet to make it look like she was in there by herself, or pictures of where they had angles of where there were no other queens in the background. Mm-hmm. But I can say it was probably similar to as we've seen at the end of Untucked, where there's, where like there's 1 or 2 girls that are finishing up and the cute guy would come in and go, we got to go now sort of thing. And as they're trying to get their shoes back on, or they're trying to lace each other back up. I can't imagine a world in which they let her just kind of stay behind while everybody else went forward. That just doesn't happen.
All right. You just mentioned Untucked, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've seen Untucked. Okay.
Yes.
These girls have not just one, but multiple wranglers who control them wherever they go. Also, that runway is on another soundstage.
Right.
So they wouldn't even leave her behind. They wouldn't be like, oh, okay, well, we're going to, turn off the lights when you leave, Kamora. No, those producers would be like, bitch, get your fucking ass in a dress right now, right? And we're heading over to that soundstage. They would not even go to the soundstage until she was there. By the way, they're on another soundstage. What good would going over a microphone of a PA system on a different soundstage where she's not even at? Right?
Right.
On a different soundstage where she's not even like, Kamora, please get to the set. She's not even there. How? She wouldn't even hear you. Right? 1, 2. Do you think, in what fucking universe do you think that RuPaul sits and waits for them?
Right.
They wouldn't even call RuPaul and Michelle from their trailers until everything's ready. It's not like, oh, RuPaul, we'll just get them there. Just come here and sit there. No, those bitches are waiting there for 30 minutes before RuPaul walks on the stage, right? So it's not like RuPaul's like, oh, I don't know where anybody is. What's going on? I don't know what's happening.
It's time for me to look at my watch and go wonder where everyone's going.
That's so weird. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, they would not. Not until RuPaul would have fired everyone on that fucking soundstage if she would have been waiting there. They're like, why? You didn't have everybody ready when I got here? It's fucking roll. Let's go. Fucking, they did this shit too. I have
fracking contracts to sign. Why am I sitting here?
Yeah. Do you think my land's gonna frack itself? Anyway, the other thing too is, I don't remember what it was. Anyway. Oh no, they pulled this shit before. Remember? This one actually was more consistent. Do you remember in season 6, there's a thing where Adore wasn't gonna finish her dress on time?
Yeah.
And they go to break and she's like, I don't know. And then they come back from there's no reference to it at all whatsoever after they come back from the break.
Right. Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. But yeah. Yes, I remember that completely.
You know what's so funny? It has nothing to do with anything.
Well, here's the place to talk about that then.
Yeah. My sister-in-law and my niece, who's 13 now, they say to me the other day, they go, guess what we started watching? Drag Race season 1. It's okay. It's weird. And I'm like, and I wanted to almost say, oh no, you got to jump to like season 5. I was like, I got to either hope they don't. Cause then imagine my sister's like, well, your uncle has a very popular podcast about RuPaul. Let's listen to him. I'm like, I don't like to drink cum from plates, I like my cum to come from the source. And my niece is like,
naturally sourced, organic. I want organic cum on these pallets.
Yeah. And John Paul sent me waffles covered in cum. They would both turn to ice and then shatter. Right? My brother, my wife and my daughter are in little tiny pieces on the floor. What happened? Okay, so let's go to the actual looks here. So I'm trying to delay them as much as possible. Oh, you should watch season 1 multiple times.
You should watch Drag You. I'll buy the seasons for you. You watch those, just spread it out as long as possible.
You should watch Camp Wanakiki. All right. Okay, the first look is called Lady. You know what? Let me actually put the little music on here. The little looks music. Taylor, I have zero thoughts on any of these looks. But do you have any thoughts on the looks?
I watched them again this morning. I was a little distracted because of the dogs last night, but I thought that the looks were solid. I liked the night looks more, but I definitely have thoughts about each of the looks. If you say the name, I could tell you what I remember about them.
This is what I can tell you. First up was Denali. She was, by the way, I like to give credit where credit is due. New thing this season that I didn't ask for that producer Luke Stamen is doing. He's giving me the order with just like a slug line of what they were wearing. So I have that now.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
So, first up, we have Denali with a blue dainty doll dress.
I was not a fan of this look. I know she said it was an homage to Forget-Me-Nots, which apparently is the state flower of Alaska.
Oh, not the disco song?
That it was what?
Isn't there like a disco song called Forget-Me-Nots? Go ahead.
Yeah. Forget-Me-Nots.
Yeah.
Which they used for the Men in Black. They took a sample of it for the Men in Black song. Will Smith. And now who sang that? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I did not like the look. I thought the look was bulky on it.
Yeah! Coming at you here with a warm 85 degrees here in California. We're going through some global warming here, but what the hell? We're going to have a lot of fun. Here we go. Patrice Rushin is her name of the person you're thinking about there.
I would have never guessed that.
Patrice Royale. I like to call it. By the way, nothing shows how old we are that she says Forget-Me-Nots. Isn't there like a disco song? And then they pull it up. All right, sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying about the...
I wasn't... This look was, of her 3 looks, was my least favorite look of the night.
Mm-hmm. All right, very good. Next, we have Rosé with a paper doll dress.
I loved this look. We've seen it done before, but I loved the color. I loved the geometric print on it. I was for some reason crazy about the wig, the weird, like almost like motorcycle helmet round wig that she had. She reminded me of somebody, and I can't think of who it was, but it was I loved the look. I wasn't necessarily a fan of the purse and the name across the ass, but I get she was trying to do something that made it a little bit more memorable.
Yeah.
Memorable.
That's right.
But, yeah. So, but it was okay. But I mean, the purse was okay, but I liked the dress.
All right. Next we have Tamisha Iman wearing a red caftan and harem pants. Your thoughts here?
This was very, this was very Palm Springs, Beverly Hills, very California. I have a pool, and I have a pool boy that I'm having an affair with, against my very old husband, who's having an affair with somebody else, sort of thing. Yeah. And I don't care. It just felt very 80s excess. Just sort of, I loved it with the harem pants, and it was like sort of a raspberry pink color. Just great look.
All right, very good. Next we have Utica. Before you say anything, I rarely LOL, especially at this show. When RuPaul went, Attica, Utica, I literally LOL'd like so hard. That was very funny.
That they seem to be showing Ru laughing harder more at things. Yeah. Like it seems like Ru is kind of having a little bit more of a good time, and whether or not that's manipulation on the producer's part or not, I don't know. But that was funny. That and the bubble butt comment and all that sort of thing was.
Meanwhile, Michelle looks at like her goal for the end of the season is to have at least 101 Dalmatians make her coat. All right, Utica. Utica's wearing a colorful psychedelic print with plastic balls.
Yes, psychedelic print with balls attached all to it and balls in the hair and everything. This seemed, for the little bit that we know of Utica, this seemed very Utica to me. And I liked it. I was here for it. I thought it was a fun look. I don't really get how that's daytime, because that almost seemed more like a 60s club look to me. But it was bright. It was fun. She had fun with it. It was a great look.
All right, very good. And finally, we have Kamora Hall, who came down in a white Kate Middleton lunch look.
I thought she looked beautiful. You missed Joey J.
Did I though? Okay, well, I don't have Joey J on this list. Let me see.
Okay.
I can get you Joey J in a second. Joey J.
I know Joey J had on, but let's talk about Kamora in her white Kate Middleton dress. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was well tailored. I thought she looked great in it. It felt like something you could get in a high-end store, though. There wasn't necessarily anything that made it drag to me, but it was a beautiful look.
All right, very good. What happened with Joey J? Sorry, I missed that.
Joey J had on a fur vest and tight pants and boots, and she had no wig on with the purple crew cut hair and great. She looked like a power lesbian dog walker in Central Park. That's kind of what I got from that, and I thought she looked amazing.
Very good. All right, now let's go to Lady.
Favorite of the six, but it was good.
Let's go to the vamp look. We have Denali in a black Moschino. Is that what you say? Moschino inspired garment.
You know, I thought this was my favorite look of Denali's of the night. I thought it was beautiful. It was so different from the first look, so it definitely like kind of took your breath away a little bit. I love the sheerness of it. I loved her hair and makeup. I thought it was really, really pretty. You got the story that she was telling with the look.
Sure. Next, we have Joey J in a Game of Thrones inspired black bodysuit with red boy hair.
I appreciate what she's trying to do there with the catsuit looks and all. Of her three looks, this was probably my least favorite. But I think Joey J is hot as a boy and in drag. So I liked looking at her, but it felt like something that we've seen. I feel like it's something that, oh God, what the hell's her name? Monica Beverly Hills. I feel like she wore something like that on season 6.
All right. Very good. I don't know what you're talking about. Rosé came out in a Alexander McQueen inspired red and black peplums with skirt and hat. What were your thoughts on Rosé's outfit?
She's the one that had the sort of lampshade cage face mask thing on. That was the outfit itself, the actual silhouette of the outfit was awesome, but that hat cage hybrid thing made the outfit. It was a very, very cool look. And I really, really liked it. High drag. All right. Tamisha
Iman in a black glittery gown. Let me do it again. A black glittery gown with hair? This doesn't make any sense. Hair.
The dress was made of hair. It was 84 inches of hair, and then there were parts of it along like the chest plate and stuff that were glittered, almost like a chest plate sort of thing.
All right.
She was doing an homage to Elvira with this look, and not my favorite look of the night from Tanisha. It was not. It felt bulky, which I also get, it's hair. So, I mean, obviously it's all going to lay on top of each other or it's going to look neat. But I thought that it didn't do justice to her body. It kind of made her look a little poochy in the front.
Yeah. Next, we have Kamora Hall with a simple black dress with cross necklace and red hair.
Kind of giving sort of vampire Susan Sarandon from The Hunger look. I thought it was great. You know, I would have liked if she was kind of going for the vampire thing, which it felt like that's sort of what she was doing, and those were the jokes they were making. I almost would have loved to have seen if she had in little vampire teeth.
All right.
Just kind of go full on, just like, not like big, huge, like Halloween fangs, but something just enough to where it's that extra detail that would have put that over the top.
Very good. And finally, we have Utica with an Edwardian burgundy gown with large collar.
I loved this. I loved everything about this. I thought it was, this is another example of like, this is high art drag to me. And not necessarily what I was expecting, because the first one was so silly and fun, whereas this one was high fashion to me and very couture. And I thought that she looked amazing.
All right. Very good. Taylor, let me fade out of here. This is the point where we're going to take a break. Okay. And when we come back, we're going to jump into the rest of the episode.
This is Amy Poehler. My new movie, Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, is coming to theaters June 14th, and it's making me feel joy and sadness and anger, definitely some disgust, and I think a little fear. But I'm also feeling these new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui.
It's what you call the boredom.
Okay, that one was weird. It's going to be the feel everything movie of the summer. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters June 14th. Get tickets now.
Yeah! All right. Back in the Back in the workroom, after the mini challenge, the queens return to the workroom to de-drag. Tamisha reveals she's won around 95 pageants out of the more than 200 she's entered. She also confesses that she's 49. She doesn't say that in the Meet the Queens, does she?
No.
Which is funny Because one of the rumors, I shouldn't say it's true or not, I don't know, but one of the rumors is that because of COVID and all that stuff, and they didn't do the Meet the Queens until like way after the season was done. So all the queens already know what happens by the time they do it. So like that means maybe she forgot that she said her real age during the run of the show because that's not what she says in Meet the Queens. As the other queens talk about their ages, Tamisha declares that her biological children are older than all of them. Next, RuPaul enters the workroom to announce this week's Maxi Challenge. The queens will perform a number to Phenomenon by RuPaul. Each queen will write their own original verse and work together to create choreography. As the girls discuss the choreography, Tamisha fades into the background despite her experience, letting Denali, Joey, and Rosé take the lead. Taylor, your thoughts on everything that happened after the mini challenge, leading up to going into before we go to the choreography part, but like everything that happened there.
The Tanisha stuff, I had made reference to this before that I was not necessarily a big fan during the Meet the Queens. I just sort of was kind of like, okay, I don't get why she's here. And I understand to some degree now why they picked her. Because I feel like they're trying to highlight old school drag a little bit. I feel like that is somewhere she definitely represents that in some way and does so in a way that is very regal and revered. I mean, when she talks about all of the kids that she had, and they talked about Tandy, Iman Dupree, and they kept showing the video of which we've all seen of her falling from the ceiling during that I Need a Hero performance. It kind of helped us all to fall in love with her a little bit, I think, and she kind of came off very motherly and shows, it gave her an opportunity to really kind of show her dynasty and show who she is. And I feel like she is going to be one of those people that got a lot of new fans just from last night's episode. I know I am more of a fan than I was when they first interviewed her, and even in the first episode of the season.
Let me ask you a question, because as we know, she declared this in the first episode. She was originally slated to be on season 12. And then she got her cancer diagnosis and had to drop out. How do you think she would have done on season 12? If you had to guess, if you had to speculate.
I think I think she would have won season 12? No. But I could see her I see her definitely being in the top half. I don't know that I would see her being in the bottom half of a season like that.
Sure.
I feel like she is going to get and I know nothing about the order or anything, but I feel like she is going to get a edit similar to Latrice, in that she is just kind of one of these beloved figures that, you kind of hope that she'll go all the way, but I think she's just old school enough to where they won't let her get all the way to the end. Like I could see her finishing like 4th or 5th. I also feel like she's sort of like, last week we talked about the fact that Olivia Lux was, like, okay, well, they've got their miscongeniality. I don't know that that's necessarily the case anymore. I feel like there could be a horse race between 3 of the girls for potential miscongeniality.
Oh, very
season.
interesting.
And, yeah. And I think that Tanisha is one of the 3.
Interesting.
Depending on how she does the rest of the season.
All right, very good. Now let's talk about this choreography part where they were. This is before we get to go and actually plays it out. But when they're all talking about how because I'll be honest with you, I was almost going to go back and watch this part of the show again because I was taking notes and I was like, maybe I missed something. But then when I saw Luke's notes, Luke, our producer of the show, and I noticed that he didn't mention it, so I'm going to ask you. Because they go to commercial after this, and then when they come back from commercial, we are in the choreography part. Did they anoint Denali, the choreographer of the bit? Because when we come back, Denali's like, I'm the choreographer.
They never actually showed them doing that, but I definitely got there where she kind of came in and immediately started trying to take over.
And even says during her confessional, like, these girls are talking, I need to get to work. And I'm like, oh, that's why I was like, I'm taking notes. Did I miss them saying, okay, you be the choreographer?
No, if they did, they missed that because they were too busy editing all of the various times that they were all saying, well, can we do this? Should we try this? And overlapping them in such a way where it made it look like, I mean, just short of where they're showing, showing Kimura, on a side angle with all of the mouths kind of like slowly floating in like an old 50s movie of all where she's feeling overwhelmed. Like that's sort of, they were definitely trying to do that to manipulate you into just thinking it was nothing but Denali and Rose and Joey just talking over each other the entire time.
Yeah. So I didn't know what was going on there, but so then let's actually go into the next segment. For the Maxi Challenge rehearsal, Denali takes the lead. She just walks in and she's like, okay, we only have 60 minutes. Like all of a sudden she's fucking Bob Fosse all of a sudden, right? And, but Rose and Joey jump right in to get their 2 cents in. Tamisha stays quiet, Kimura's overwhelmed, and everything appears to be a mess until the more experienced queen jumps in to set everyone straight. What was your take on this whole choreography act?
It was, we've seen this with every choreography where they have to work together, and there's inevitably at least 2 that argue over what should be done and how things should be done. I thought the idea of utilizing, because they knew that Kimura wasn't necessarily a dancer, trying to utilize her in ways that still allowed her to stand out, but not necessarily screw up everybody else's dancing, was a smart move on Joey's part. And I thought that when Tanisha did her, where she just kind of took over at the very last couple of minutes of it, that is sort of where she was doing it in a way where I think because they all sort of looked to her as the house mother, this group, they all listened to her more than they were willing to listen to each other in that regards. At least that's the way they want you to show it, because she sort of was doing the thing of where normally if they had been, so when you look at this, like, Todrick versus, what's the guy from last week's name? The
Jamal Sims.
Jamal. So, okay. When at one point, I think it was Kimura starts to walk across and Tamisha says, no, you stay there. We haven't gone that yet. If Jamal had said that, they would have done it the way with Tamisha. But if it had been, Todrick, there would have been the music behind. There would have been the dramatic, no, we don't do that kind of thing. And it would have been where there was the pause. They would have showed other people's reactions, that sort of thing. So I feel like part of this may be editing on their part of the way that she was working with them versus the other girls were working. But I don't know. I just like that style better of work, because there was also seemed to be a level of respect, and she was trying to help them figure things out versus the other girls just kind of talking.
It's one of these. Here's my question to you, Taylor. As a casual fan of the show, and by casual I mean I have a highly rated podcast about this show, nothing comes to mind for me. Who are these girls trying to emulate? I'm talking about Rosie, Joey, and Denali. In that, like, if we think about the other girls with quote unquote dance experience, like Alyssa, I never saw Alyssa do anything like this. I feel Alyssa's always sort of given her advice, but didn't go like, I'm a choreographer, I know what to do, right? Also, who else is a dancer that we've seen before? I've never seen even Jan. Remember, Jan did really well on the dancing thing, and I didn't see, like, I've never seen anything like this before. So I want to know what they were. They were trying to impress the producers of the show that they're leaders and they're trying to take charge. But like, wouldn't you recognize like they're talking over each other, or you don't think they really were?
I don't think they were talking over each other to the level that they made us think they were talking over each other.
Okay.
But you're also talking about now contestants, especially we consider that it was the younger girls that were doing this, whereas Tamisha was kind of just holding back. These are girls that have grown up watching this show.
Yeah.
So, and they recognize that if they think they have an idea, that sometimes you have to push yourself forward if you feel really strong in it, and you have to be the leader, because in the end you are rewarded with that if it goes well. So, and considering that that everybody there has already been technically eliminated once, I think they are trying to stand out in the pack.
Yeah.
They even kind of talk about that a little bit in the in Untucked, where Tamisha mentions the fact that she doesn't she was just kind of holding back until it was her time, and Rosé's like, not me, Mm-hmm. I was up there. I want to stand out the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think that it's that difference in it's that difference in mentality that the younger girls have versus somebody that is a seasoned queen like Tamisha does.
All right, very good. Moving on to Elimination Day, Tamisha worries that the girls are a little overconfident heading into the Maxi Challenge. Meanwhile, Kamora reveals her boyfriend isn't comfortable with her being a drag queen. That was a very odd moment, didn't you think, with Kamora and the boyfriend? What were you wrote the award-winning New York Times bestseller Life's a Drag, My Life as a Drag Queen by Taylor Latte Boy DDS. And what was your take on everything that she was saying? What was going on there?
The thing, it made me sad for her that she's in a relationship where her partner doesn't support her, you know, or doesn't really, you know, it's sort of a, you do your own thing, but I don't want to know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in relationships like that before where I had interests and you want to share them with somebody who's in your life and they are showing absolutely no interest in it. You know, like my husband has things that he likes to talk to me about. And, you know, I at least show it. Does that mean I want to watch certain TV shows with him or play certain video games? No, but I'll at least listen to him talk about it. And I'll ask the occasional question. This is making it sound like she almost has to hide this.
Yeah.
From, you know, as she sort of talked about not necessarily sharing anything in Untucked, she talked about having a similar relationship with her parents. And it's just sort of sad. And I can see how, especially if she's saying she only really performs a couple times a month because of this, you know, it's hard to really kind of go full throttle into something if you're not able to really sort of explore it and enjoy your passion that way.
Okay. Yeah, it was, you know, I was like, dump his ass, bitch, you know, like, but you know, there are a lot of complex,
in your caftan with your fan.
Yeah, just fucking dump him, Kamora. Anyway. Yeah, that was very sad. Oh, by the way, one thing I didn't mention about Kamora, I really do think she was rushed, though. Did you see? But, you know, because, you know, after they do I'm going back to the mini challenge just for a second. After they do that first look, then they go back and dress, and I think she had time to touch up her makeup. But that first look, her makeup was rough. I was like, ugh. But the second time it was better. I wouldn't say it was great, but it was better. And
she looked older in that first look. She didn't really have a chance to highlight or anything. It was one.
Yeah.
Just base.
She learned really fast, and she has to get used to it. All right, let's go on to now. It's shocking here. The looks. Taylor. The category is we're here, we're sheer, get used to it. So first up is Denali.
Denali comes out in a white, almost like a bubble skirt. Or maybe it's like sort of like a lavendery or a pearl colored. Very flowy, almost looks like petals. Makeup is a little hard, but this was the fringe look that Joey J had on. Okay. Joey J had on a fringy dress, very reminiscent of Julie Andrews and Victor Victoria when she does La Jazz Hot Baby. They talked about how much they liked it. I liked it too. It was sort of superhero-esque in some ways. I love the makeup and I like the short hair. I can see what they're talking about, but I like it. Kamora Hall comes out in a really bad wig that I did not like with Roots, but came out sort of in a sheer caftan that is bejeweled with a nude bodysuit underneath. Rosé came out in what I can only refer to as a hot plastic mess. It was a purple and pink outfit that was with huge poofy sleeves that were sheer, but also had plastic, where was the main part of the body was plastic. It almost looked like when you have melted soda bottles together. Not a great look. Next up is Tamisha, and Tamisha had on a beautiful gold dress that she made herself with a large flourish across her chest and waist. And just very much a pageant dress, very beautiful. Hair looked great. Everything about her was amazing. She looked significantly younger, I thought, here than she did with everybody else. The last look is Utica, who came out wearing lots of scarves, sheer scarves, with her hair up in a big ponytail and a huge scarf as sort of a knot in her ponytail with some crazy, awesome makeup that was very very unusual, and
it was kind of Dia de los Muertos-esque.
Say that again?
It was kind of Dia de los Muertos-esque.
Kind of, yeah. There definitely was sort of that as well. But I think that it was I just think it was awesome. I think that Utica was one of those queens that I sort of was like, oh, she'll be the first one out sort of thing. But the more that I see her looks, the more that I really and the more that I listen to her, I think that she is interesting and that she seems to be a very kind soul. And I hope that they keep her around for a while.
All right. Very good. And those are the looks. All right, very good. On the main stage, RuPaul calls Rosé and Denali to the front of the stage and announces they're the top 2 of the week. Once again, the rest of the group remains safe for another round. In a lip-sync battle for the win, Rosé and Denali go head-to-head to the song If You Seek Amy by Britney Spears. In the end, Denali outperforms Rosé and earns a cash tip of 5,000 doulas. Taylor, any final thoughts on the episode? Was there anything you missed? Oh, I have notes on the episode. How come I didn't look at it? Okay, go ahead. I might have some myself.
The one thing that I noticed that I thought was sort of problematic was when they were performing the song Phenomenon. Yeah. Did you notice that for the half a second, the first time they say the word Thailand, they immediately go to Kamora Hall?
Let me tell you something.
I was like, they did that on purpose.
Let me tell you something. I don't want to say anything too much, but like knowing the spoilers that I know, they do a lot of that shit where they'll be like, wouldn't want to see who's going next or something like that. And then they flash to that person. I'm like, and I know who goes next. And I'm like, oh God. Okay. Any other final thoughts?
I was not a fan of Rosé's lip sync. I thought that Denali was the clear winner.
Oh, yeah. Denali was the clear winner. Rosé she prides herself how good she is. Yeah.
Rosé is giving me, which it also kind of makes sense given what we know about where she is and all that kind of stuff. But she's starting to give me like Alexis Michelle, Brita Filter vibes.
Yeah.
And that's going to make it hard to really kind of root for her if she stays in that place in my head.
Yeah. I have a couple of things to bring up. I watched this on a service called Philo, which I think is just feeding commercial. I don't think that they have their own special feed or anything.
I know where you're going with this because we watched it on the same service.
Yeah. And so I just watched it with commercials because I used the commercials to then text people or check emails, stuff like that. Has anyone told the Biden-Harris campaign that the campaign's over?
Well, apparently you can still vote early in Georgia.
Yeah. I was like, what is going on? Why are they still showing us Biden-Harris election commercials and voting and stuff like that? I was like, what is going on there? Next, there was a reference that I thought needed explaining because I think anyone under, 40 wouldn't understand what Ross was talking about when he made the Fen reference.
Yeah.
RuPaul said something asked Ross about something about phenomena, and Ross said, is that like Fen? And I only know because I was in college. Fen was this diet drug that came out very briefly. I'll tell you why, because it was too successful. And I knew people who went on Fen, they fucking just dropped weight. And it was this miracle medical drug. Huh?
They dropped weight or
they just dropped dead, yeah. It was this miracle drug. People were like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. I think you had to be prescribed Fen, right? It was like, I think it was a prescription drug. Yeah, it was.
Was it?
I think it was a prescription drug, yeah. Because essentially, and I'll give you a short history lesson. What it was they'd give you a pill to take in the morning that was inherently just speed, right? It was just giving you speed. And then they'd give you a downer at night that you took to go to sleep. And people were losing a ton of weight on it, but then they also have people who were just dropping dead of a heart attack because they were giving you speed. And it worked. People were fucking just dropping weight because their bodies were just burning calories like crazy. But then, like you said, they were just dropping dead. I feel it was only around like a year or two, and then it was gone. They banned it from the FDA, took it off the market. So that reference. The other thing too, Taylor, is we got an email. I sent you the screenshot, and it was a person. I want to address this, but we got an email from Trayvon, a listener named Trayvon, And he wanted to know if we saw any comparisons or similarities between what was happening with these first 3 episodes where the girls were isolated from each other and the failed psychological experiment, the Stanford Prison Experiment. And I know we all know you wrote the Pulitzer Prize winning book, I Won't Stand for This, about the Stanford Prison Experiment by Taylor Latte Boy DDS. And I have my own thoughts of the little that I know about the Stanford Prison Experiment. But first, why don't you tell everyone what the Stanford Prison Experiment was?
Well, the Stanford Prison Experiment was an experiment where they had taken students, I believe it was college students, and half of the students were split into, if there was the scenario of where you were prisoners, and half of the students were considered to be prisoners, and the other half were considered to be prison guards or, people that were in charge of the prisoners. Yeah. And it was a lengthy experiment. And what they found was over time, it was creating complete changes in the community as far as people were looked down on more, people were verbally and I believe physically abused by some of the people that were the prison guards and stuff. And eventually it got so bad to the point that they had to shut down the experiment.
Yeah.
Is that kind of that's sort of the thumbnail version of
That's
it?
the
right?
gist of it. By the way, if you're a Patreon supporter, listener Haley Sklans has posted a link to a podcast about the Stanford Prison Experiment. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, and I don't know that I can see where on the surface it looks like that, but we're not going to be where there is the perceived position of power versus if next week Rue says, okay, the winner circle group now gets to control the B group or whatever. That's a completely different show. But I think that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What
it's actually closer to, and you might know more about this, is the one about the blue-eyed children in the classroom. Mm-hmm. Remember the one where there's one, I think there's a video of it where a teacher, I don't know if she told the kids, but was nicer to the kids with blue eyes. And it inherently, it set up this relationship between the kids, even though it was unspoken, where there was definitely a group of elite children and kids who felt less than, even though there was never stated that that's what she was doing, but she was nicer to the kids. And it seems more akin to that experiment, which I think is also considered a terrible experiment to do on children. But, but there is a video of that too, and I think that seems closer to it. Oh, someone already posted again. Humble Pie in the Discord on the RuPaul in the Drag Race Recap Discord has posted the video of the blue eyes, brown eyes anti-racism exercise in the Discord if you want to see that video.
So I mean, I also think that again they are setting this up to where we think that there's going to be this big rumble in the workroom. They've done that in the past where I remember season 6 when they split everybody up and the first time that the girls come in, they sort of I'm surprised they didn't end the episode like this of them walking in and the other girls sitting there waiting for them.
Yeah, no, please that.
But they did that at the end of the one episode. Yeah, with the Western music. And then eventually they're all like, hey, and do the big with the hands and all that kind of thing. So, and I am sure that the comment that they show of Tina Burner, she makes some ridiculous statement, and I'm sure that they are making that look like where it's going to set up conflict between them. That may not be the case. That may just be where she makes comment and everybody just sort of laughs it off. I don't know that I'm necessarily thinking that this is anything like the Stanford Prison Experiment, but time will tell. Who knows? They're adding new twists this season, so maybe that's the next twist that we just don't know about yet.
I think the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Discord is more like the Stanford Prison Experiment. All right, Taylor, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we call it a day there? That's going to do it for this episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week, by the way, as Taylor the Latte Boy and I discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13. So, for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us over at Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can follow Tanner the Latte Boy on Instagram and Twitter at PIMC Taylor. Follow Joe Betance on Instagram at Joe Betance. That's JoeBetance. This episode was produced by Luke Stamen. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.